Welcome to Fiction Authors Talk Books or Fat Books podcast. This episode I'm talking with the engaging Sedona Ashe about a bunch of this and that. I named this podcast Fiction Authors Talk Books because I wanted it to incorporate all aspects of being a fiction author in the discussions. Being an author is a stressful job with high expectations from both ourselves and our fans, so this will always be a chill conversation that probably goes off topic most times. We'll still have some fun. If you enjoyed the podcast and would like to see your favorite author on here, send them this link, and they can get in touch with us at fatbookspodcast@gmail.com. We take all authors who write fiction and have them published as long as they're polite. Thanks for joining us, and on to the podcast. Hello?
Hi.
We're going to talk about vampires.
Yes. Ooh, vampires. I like vampires.
I like vampires. I like vampires too.
Yes.
Because they can be like, unlike shifters, vampires can be a bit constraining because you have to do it this way. Or, there's confines. I've had people be like, oh, that's not a vampire because they walk in the daylight or they're born or, different things that you play with. So it's not every vampire walks around like Dracula and cheesy lines. And so you were saying that you also have played with the vampire mold a bit.
Yes.
In this news series you've been working on, or?
Yes. So I published the first book, Save a Life, Tell a Lie. And I published it in January. And I write a lot of reverse harem. So that was my first male-female book. Okay. And I loved that. I'm trying to move a little bit more into that now. Mm-hmm. But for me, when I play with an idea, I want to make it as much as I can. I mean, obviously, there's nothing new under the sun. Yeah. But I like to try to make things my own spin or my own take on that. And I do love vampires. I love the idea of this being that's, immortal and very powerful. A little bit on the, I don't know, a brute, maybe like a little bit more like, I don't really care. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched a lot of the TV series. I've seen most of the originals, mm-hmm. and I liked that. But I haven't watched a lot of the pop culture kind of vampire stuff. But I do know the typical tropes. We kind of all do. But I wanted to play with that idea.
Well, everybody read Bram Stoker in high school kind of vibe, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you know that one, and then you know your Dracula from all your cartoons. How they played on that. And then I never actually watched or read Twilight. I just saw bits and pieces because you can't help it. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, she played up some of her own stuff. So for me, I kind of wanted to go back to the idea that I wanted the vampires to be able to live in the human world, but still not necessarily completely love humans. It's like they tolerate them, they're beneath them. And then just kind of play with the juxtaposition of you have this super, powerful, could kill you in an instant with a girl that's obviously human and she can't handle that. So one of the things I enjoyed that my readers liked was, if you saw Nemo, this was where kind of the idea came from. But when the little octopus gets scared, she goes, "Oh no, I inked."
Yeah.
And like the little black cloud. And I thought it would be really funny if, one of my vampire, when they become very, very aroused or interested in a female, like enamored or whatever, they will release a scent. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, they ink, but with this really, really nice fragrance that's supposed to calm their mate or attract their mate. Mm-hmm. But it's an embarrassing thing. Yeah. It's a lack of control, which they don't like. And so my vampire, of course, had never done that. And so when he first sees this human, and he doesn't even like humans, he inks. I don't call it inking, but
yeah, I get you.
Basically, that's what he does. He releases this scent. And his friends are gagging and laughing oh no, you did not, they're never going to let him live this down because it's, for an uber self-controlled, he should be able to handle his hormones and not be a, teenage vampire. And I just like that because then at the beginning, she's running from a stalker. The whole premise is that she's being stalked. She's terrified of vampires, always has had an aversion to them, but she decides that she needs a bigger monster than the monster that's stalking her. Mm-hmm. So she runs to him and asks him, she tries to pretend he's her fiance and ends up in a forced arrangement is how the book goes. But he doesn't like humans. She doesn't like vampires, but then he releases that scent and she's calmed and attracted by it because she's supposed to be his soulmate anyways. Yeah. So it's fun just to kind of play with that. My guy I'm playing that he's a historical. So one of the original essence of the vampire. When he shifts, because my vampires have a vampiric form. Okay. Not like a bat. Not like that.
No, but fangs, eyes change, maybe some sort of claws are, standard, typical, kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah, you're obvious, those things. Yeah. They still have a humanoid form.
Yeah.
but with these more vampiric, the eyes go black, things like that.
Right.
And and which terrifies her even more. But mine is different from the other vampires, which he's been hiding from both vampires and humans, that when he shifts into a more demon gargoyle-like form.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a group of creatures called the Hunters who are actually hunting for him. So there's like a mystery. So it's going to go through it, and you have to figure out exactly what he can do and, what the Hunters are, since they weren't supposed to be in existence anymore.
Right.
But they've come out of hiding. So he can call the shadows. So when he's shifted and very angry, the shadows answer his call. So it's not your typical vampire, but it's still I need to drink blood. I live immortal. It's still a play on that.
Yeah. No, I think it's fun to mess with some of that stuff, but I also think it's fun to not mock, but kind of play with the stereotype stuff. Like I had, and see, the people maybe when I started off as Aaron, and if somebody had only picked up an Aaron book first, they didn't know I was kind of mocking it, though I did really say in the book that I was. But like I had a super sleek master of the city vampire whose name was Vlad, and he was,
Love it.
He thought he was, like super cool, super with it. And she kind of kept mocking him of like, really, your name is Vlad? Like, huh? And he's like, I chose this, like, even when he explains it later that it wasn't his real name, that he chose it. And my friend told me to just go with it and follow whatever and mess with people and choose it. She's still like, dude, like, it's that guy that thinks he's the thug, and you're just kind of like you just want to put out your hand and like hold it at his forehead as he's swinging at you. Kind of like, that's the vibe the whole thing is supposed to be giving off.
I love it.
And some people did get it, and they started laughing, and they're like, I love how you're mocking this. And then other people were like, dude, you can't write like a vampire. It's like, oh, you missed it. Like, you missed it.
Sometimes the jokes don't land, but if you're like, for me, I don't always mind, because I'm sitting there giggling like an idiot while I'm writing it.
I don't mind. I really don't, unless like I've done the same where I've totally missed it and like I get it on the reread or something. So like I totally get it. I'm just one of those that like I never put down like a review or put down my opinion unless I'm 100% sure that I'm in the right. So sometimes I just like feel bad for people when they're like, oh my God, she didn't da 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 da. And it's not even like I'm mad about the review or the criticism. I'm just kind of like, oh honey, you didn't get it. Like, it's not even like I want them to take down a bad review. It's more like, please make that go away for yourself. Like, you didn't get the joke.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because I've been in that position where I didn't get the joke, and it's like I feel bad for somebody when they don't, because like everybody knows how that feels.
I've seen a few of those. Yes. Oh, I love those. I have a book, and the concept is the girl can split herself into 3 forms.
Okay.
I published it last year. It's called Nope, Not a Never. And they are a species that can split themselves into 3 forms. So she can split herself into 3 girls that are completely visible, almost like a werewolf could shift into a werewolf, except she can do it with these 3 forms, and they each embody different parts of her personality.
Okay.
So she is she's a thief at the beginning of the book, but it's a forced thing. And so she has her own team, essentially. She doesn't need to work with anybody. And then she is forced to work with another team. And that's how, the story develops.
Right.
But I loved it because I named the main character. Her name is Tripp, Tripp.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other girls was Lee, Lee, and the third girl I named Kat. Some people got it right away. And then a lot of people told me that it got to either the point where I explained the joke or about halfway through the book where they realized it was triplicate.
Mm-hmm.
If you put the whole name together.
That's pretty funny.
But you had to be like, I was very careful about when I would say their names in a sentence to put like a little tiny bit of a gap, because I was trying to like let people get the joke without explaining the joke at first. But I loved it because I got so many reviews where the people would be like, I got it first page, and the other people be like, got it halfway through, and then I just wanted to smack myself because how did I miss that at the beginning?
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, no, I like doing that kind of stuff. Like, I validly get crap for picking on people or picking on, this side of politics or I pick on Texas a lot, and it's valid. Or I've had somebody email me and they're like, you really pick on vegans. And I'm like, I do. But do you know who I pick on most? Meat eaters. myself. Anything I am, I pick on most. Like I pick on Catholics most. I was raised Catholic. I pick on Chicagoans most. I'm from Chicago. Like I just pick on everything because it's seriously laugh at the crazy or just get out. Like you're not gonna survive this. Like we're all gonna die in
Oh
the end.
no.
Like just enjoy it.
Well, and that's what makes us laugh in real life too.
Oh yeah.
Is like the humor and the irony and the can you believe that just happened? You know, and that's what I want to capture in my book is they're unbelievable, obviously. It's paranormal.
Yeah.
But I like there to be those points in the book where people can relate to it because they also share or have someone in their life that has that viewpoint or that background or whatever. I just think that's a lot of fun.
Well, and we've all just had those moments of like, oh, wow, I really just did that. Like, same series, but she's having this thing and the doctor lives in the building and she's going down there ready to kill him because she thinks she's having morning sickness. She's puking, she's sick, you know, she's going through
Right.
everything. And then it's actually a vampire, her head of security that she's intimate with as well. And he shows up and the doctor's like, do you have tender breasts? And he grabs her boob and she's like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, yes, tender boobs. And they're going through everything to try and explain to her that she's starting her period and it's the new supernatural birth control that she had to switch to instead of the human stuff that's making her this sick because she wasn't taking care of herself. But her whole thing is she's like, I'm pregnant. She's like, and he's saying whatever. And she's like, I'm not showing yet. How would I even know? And they're finally like, oh my God, Sarah, you're not pregnant. You can't have this. You can't be pregnant when you're on your period. Like we're trying to tell. And she's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to know? I'm throwing up. Like, leave me alone.
Right?
And we've all been there where it's that moment of, wait, you wanted me to think logically in this moment? Like, maybe not to that extreme, but it's like, we've all done that stupid stuff, or we've all done those moments where it's like, I'm sorry, did you just expect me to be normal here? But yeah, so I like a lot of the humor of just, you know.
I do too. I had one scene where the girl really needed to hop in and like save her mates, and I like to play with my female main characters. I don't love the damsel in distress.
Oh no.
Like I do like a little bit of the he can step in a moment and save her, and I really like the men to be more like emotionally supportive than even, you know, physically supportive. So I even have books where the girl's kind of like a little bit put out. Like you do realize if one of us is going to get hurt, it should be me because I'm going to heal from it and you're not. You know, use your brain here.
Yeah.
And I had one scene where my girl used her magic and was able to get wings to fly. But if I was in that moment and all of a sudden I was given wings, no matter how badly I wanted to go save someone, the reality is I don't know how to fly. I wouldn't know how to use the wings. So, you know, it was a super dramatic moment where she's like, I'm going to do something. And she like throws herself off this building, but she can't fly. So, you know, it turned into kind of half comedic, but, you know, it's not a real world problem. But then I think if you're pretending to be this person, this character in a book, if you're in their head, you'd probably be like, oh, wait, that's right. When would we have had time to practice?
Yeah, no, I'm dying because I actually just did something similar with my Artemis because everybody's so nervous to teach the, you know, future queen of fairy how to fly in case she gets injured and like damages her wing. It could mean the devastation of the planet and all this. So they're just not teaching her. Like they're not doing what they shouldn't because they're worried about her power level or if she gets injured. So it goes this thing that her dragon mate is like, you know, you keep promising you're going to come fly with me. You're going to come fly with me. Come fly with me. And then he like kind of is just like, okay, let your wings out, feel the air. And then he just dumps her off his back.
Just like a mom bird. Just throw her out of the nest.
Yeah, because she's a telepath. So in her mind, he's like, you know, dragon sorry, and then just flips, does a barrel roll and dumps her off. But he's flying below her to catch her and is like talking in her mind about like, just glide down, just stop saying you're never going to do this. Stop being mad at your wings and understand that they're apart. Like, so it's like, yeah, it's funny how there's like, I mean, there's only so many certain ways that you can write certain situations, but it's funny to have that kind of humor in it.
That moment, the humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So spoiler alert.
I mean, the humor and the serious.
Yeah. If anybody has not read Klutz, so like don't listen to this part real quick because it might be a spoiler. But I had the girl later when she learned to fly, had her take her to her wings again, and she was flying with the griffin. And all the other mates were kind of freaked out because she shouldn't have really been as high, and he was playing a little rough. And she got the hang of it and was very proud of herself because it's her point of view. You know, they're watching, and I switched between point of views in the two chapters. And they're like, oh, she's doing so good. And she's like elegant and like, just really coming into her own. And then she smacks a bird with her face and she dies because she's a phoenix. So she dies all the time because she's clumsy.
No.
And so then I got to do my one piece of poetry I have ever written in my life. And so my next chapter, when it switched to her point of view, was like, I was beauty, I was grace until a bird smacked my face. Because then, of course, she just disintegrated. And that all her mates are on the ground just like, oh, look, she's beautiful. And then poof, she's gone in a cloud of feathers because both her and the bird disintegrated. Do you know how much research I had to do, though, to make sure it was entirely possible? Because clearly that matters. It doesn't matter that I have a phoenix and a griffin flying through the air, but it really mattered to me to make sure that you could hit a bird with enough velocity to actually unalive yourself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Those little details. I was talking to somebody for the podcast, and I was talking about being in an actual ME's office for research for my Sarah series, which is a FBI crime drama, and bringing my tape measure. Really? And that I was like actually measuring this, well, because you can't tell from the movies and photos and stuff how much room is actually in between those drawers, how much room is in between the actual, like,
you're right,
dissect. And they were like, why? And I was like, why not? I can't find this on Google. And I never used it, but but
you have it there if you do.
I was just
if you ever need to.
Yeah, somewhere in my notes. Yeah, I absolutely do. And I've been in there and I've seen it. But it's like, yeah, I wanted to know how far those like viewing windows are from the actual, and like how hard is it to get in between, and like, stuff that it's the stuff that we actually, the rabbit holes we go in for research that you can't actually like is usable is hysterical to me. The stuff with vampires is so funny because it's like nobody wants the cliche, but then sometimes you get crap if you go off like the quote unquote rules of vampires. But I still have fun messing with it. Like I have in Sarah's series, they can all have like different gifts, but there's some that once you reach like ancient, you get with your bloodline. Like a normal vampire can't drink down a human in like one feeding or whatever unless you're of this bloodline. So they were like, and again, it's like the humor of like these ancient vampires who are so used to this, not like understanding certain semantics. And she just kind of looks at them and like she says it like, I'll wait for you guys to get it. Like, go ahead. I'm waiting. And she's just like, okay, so you all understand you're idiots, right? Like you didn't get just because. It's just so amusing sometimes to just have that as the end result of like, I'll wait.
I love that. I did a line in mind, which again is poking fun at one of the, the garlic. And so when he's like, yeah, we're together now. And she's like, oh no, this isn't going to work. And she's like, I'm in a long-term relationship with garlic bread. This isn't going to work between us. And it was just a smart aleck line in the middle of and actually a very serious thing.
Something serious.
Yeah, but she was just, if it was me, I would probably try to deflect with humor if I was in that situation. Or my panicked brain would lock on to the most, like, would really not be your problem at the moment, would be garlic bread. Like, in the whole scheme of things, you can live without garlic bread. But I'd probably latch on to that. And so he's like, I love garlic bread too. So you have some bad information. And what was ended up being funny is when I saw a few of the reviews later, quite a few quoted that line. And they're like, I'm in a garlic bread relationship too, girl. And it was like the readers really related to that line that was totally poking fun at, the vampires.
Yeah, it's really funny which lines readers pick out. Like there's one you were saying about not having the guys like come to the rescue or whatever. In my Enchantress series, Soria is taking on her elders, which is one of which is her father, and she sees her angel boyfriend basically bail in the middle of it.
Oh my!
Yeah, he comes back later and she says, like, I saw you bail. My life is complicated. I get that you guys have clear lines, but I live in the world of, gray, basically, and in between heaven and hell, and this is the real world, and if you can't handle it, fuck off. And everybody else is like, hey, you're being too harsh, you're being too whatever, and the angel almost not really laughs, but he's like, you had the situation in hand. Hell, it looked cathartic. I went to handle something else before it became an issue, because I guess I know the answer, I wrote it.
Love it.
I guess her father, I wrote it. I know the answer. Oh my God. But no, her father had certain things in place about their bloodline. And if he died, that would have reneged on some deals with demons. So he actually went off to protect her in a different way.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But for an angel to be witnessing somebody killing people and just being like, it looked cathartic. I've had that one specifically. Like, you didn't need the help. It looked cathartic. That line quoted back to me. It's so many times that I'm like, I mean, I knew it was kind of amusing, but I didn't think it was as funny as, and I love that. That is one of my favorite things when people pick out lines and they're like, really? It's like, what?
I know. I never know. Like, one of the lines that keeps getting quoted to me is, so one of my characters, she doesn't curse in real words. She curses in made up words. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, Snuffle McSnuffin Nut or something. Like, it's a very hard line. I had to sit there and say it like 30 times in a row to even make sure. And then I cackled knowing that my narrator's going to have to say it out loud. But I'm seeing it posted now. And I'm like, really? That was the line? Occasionally, I don't read my reviews.
Oh, God, no.
Like, I'll see if it's a post on Facebook, like if somebody, like that kind of thing. But at this point, probably the ADHD thing, that you can have emotional dysregulation. So you can't, everything that's critical, your brain latches onto and takes it way too far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can have 1,500 reviews, most of them good, and I go for that one-star review immediately. Like, duh. Like, you're an idiot.
One of my books one of them has like 66,000 and something reviews now. And in the comments, one of the top reviews says, like, this author isn't funny. Now, there are like over 5,000 other ones saying that they like laughed until they cried, but this one says that this author's not funny. And that stuck with me.
You fixated on it.
I fixated. Yeah. I could not write for 8 weeks.
Aww.
Because every time I tried to crack a joke, I would just be like, you're being stupid. It's not funny. Mm-hmm. And I really kind of realized that I needed to not, mentally that wasn't good for me. Yeah. And truthfully, I'm not going to change the story anyways. Like, I can make slight comments. I have an alpha that reads as I write. Mm-hmm. And I will pivot a little bit if she points out something big that, like, oh, well, you need to think this magic power through.
Yeah.
How is this going to, that kind of thing I'll do. Or if she says, hey, I really wish you would have described the restaurant better. You know, okay, I'll do that. But I can't change the storyline. Mm-hmm. These characters are very real in my mind, and they're going to do whatever they want, whether I want them to do it or not. It really doesn't matter, because if they didn't like the story, I hate that for them. I hate that they wasted their time, you know, and whatever on it. But I can't really change the story, because it's the story that the character says needs to be told. And once I kind of came to terms with it, I was like, okay, so then the reviews, obviously we need the reviews to sell our books. Yeah. So anybody listening, that's a huge thing. Oh, yeah. Majorly help us by leaving reviews or even just a rating.
Yeah. It's a huge thing. We're very appreciative. I equivocated as you bought the book, you bought dinner. The review is the tip if you really liked it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to go through them all. It's not emailing me. It's not directed to me. I very much appreciate it. It's not even like the bad versus the good or anything like that. I've had it where I could read 100 reviews and 50 people want more sex and 50 people want less sex.
Oh, that's the hardest one. And then I second guess myself.
And I can't give everybody what they want, and it just fills me with too much anxiety as an author and a people pleaser.
I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Yep. Jinx.
Yeah.
I'm a people pleaser too. I want everybody to be happy. And if they're reading my book, I want them to enjoy that experience.
Or if I'm not their cup of tea, no shade, and bless you on finding the right author for you. Like, there's whatever. I'm not for everyone. Oh, yeah. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Oh, I know that. My humor's weird. I know that. And I know, like, I'm very well aware. I'll see when my books are recommended. And usually mine are recommended when somebody says, so what's something that'll make me laugh? I've had a really hard week. And that's usually, or something absurd. I get recommended a lot there. There's a couple times I'll get recommended if you want to cry. But usually I'm an author you're going to read if you want to kind of giggle and wake your husband up in bed or laugh inappropriately at the doctor's office and have everybody look at you weird.
Yeah.
That's probably more my speed. And I love that. But it is hard because I had one book I released, and I think the first love scene was 5 chapters in.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. So it's like a 22 chapter book. 5 chapters in was the first scene. I thought that was a good pace. Like, they knew each other. They got to talk a little bit. They were fated mates. So it worked out that there was a natural draw there as well. Yeah. And I got a lot of heat for it was slow to start.
Oh, my.
Because they really wish the spice started sooner.
Next book, you gave it to him right away, and it was too soon. Yep.
Yeah, the next book, I was like, okay, fine. It was chapter 2, I think, and I made them like crazy super mates to where it was, and the girl was kind of had the attitude like, hey, you only live once. Why not, right?
Yeah.
This is probably a hallucination anyways.
Yeah.
So I kind of threw it in, and then people were like, Well, it was, I just find Fated Mate so unbelievable. Like nobody would, and I'm like, seriously? Like I can't win.
You never had a one night stand or a hookup, girl. You've been missing out.
I'm
Like,
just like, there's no winning. So then the next book,
yeah,
was my vampire, I think, and the steam doesn't happen until 2/3 of, there's steam before, but the real heavy, like the actual, romance, like bang, wham, bam, that doesn't happen until 2/3 of the way through the book.
yeah,
But the pacing felt right to me. The story felt right. The buildup felt right.
yeah,
And I'm like, they're just going to roast me alive for this.
yeah.
But in the end, it was the exact same. You had the same number of people that wished it was sooner and the same that just thought it was just right. And I'm like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just at this point have to write what I write.
Yeah, it is what it is, and I just go with what I think is right for the book. I have had some people notice and accurately notice that there's less sex in my books because I'm writing in an apartment versus when I had a house and I didn't have shared walls.
Hilarious.
That's true. It's very hard to be in the middle of a sex scene, go outside and see like 14 people to walk Vader. That is a valid thing, and nobody's really been harsh about it. It's just like it was a noticing, thing. So you were saying for the comedy of taken, for me, I think I'm known more for the good guys win. I'm the night off when there's too much of everybody getting away with crap they shouldn't. Nobody's getting punished for things.
Yeah.
Money buys you out of everything. Like the world is on fire.
Yeah.
And if you want to see the ending change, that's what people come to me for, because the bad guys will always end up dead or in jail. The good guys will always win. My heroine will never die. I mean, eventually she'll die. You know what I mean? But I don't like kill off characters. And when I first started, I got a lot of, oh my God, your books are just fighting and fucking. And I immediately replied with, and there's something wrong with that.
I say
like
banging and blowing up is what I like to do. So every time I get bored,
like that.
I'll be writing a chapter where they're talking too much. I'm like, okay, you all either need to blow something up or you need to bang.
You need to bang or blow something up. I like that. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with some fighting and fuck. Like, fight the bad guys. Let's have some sex. Like, whatever. Clearly I've gotten better.
Right.
And still don't see anything wrong with that. But I touch on emotions. I delve into characters as the series are. There's not more of the books coming out. I like that. Like, I started writing to rewrite the endings in my own life, kind of as if you could. But like, I like that. That's the good guys always win. I don't like I could never write like a mafia series. I can't even watch those kind of movies and stuff where it's like, the misunderstood criminal or villain. It's like, nope, you should all be in jail. You should all be under the ground. Like, I just want the good guys to win.
Yeah.
I want, good to triumph over evil. I just want the world to be better. That's how I need to write it out.
Yeah. I think like I get told a lot, like I'll make people cry and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I want you to relate to this character who's down to earth.
Yeah.
But then I want to make you laugh unexpectedly, like because the person is using humor a lot of times to deal with like whatever that stress is. Like there's one scene where she's chained up. She's just freed herself, like not even very long before, right? And the guys show up to save her and she's blown up the entire facility and she's dragging one of the guys behind her and she's like, you're late. Like, thanks a lot for coming, but
yeah,
I've already handled it kind of thing.
No, I love that. I do. But I think for me, it's like, yeah, you want the night off and you don't want to have to think too hard. So in a recent book, Sarah rescues a few who had like the quote unquote, this rogue guy named himself Alpha, infected some women, wanted to basically just have like sex slaves raping, these poor women. And she goes in, kills the guy, saves them. And sexual assault and rape is something that too many of us have experienced, too many of us know about. And I know it's a rough topic. It triggers all the feelings. I don't use it as easy triggers or easy ways to get feelings. Right. But to me, I wanted to write the ending for those women that a lot of us don't get. And that was the response I got from a lot of readers was, I wish after I went through something like that, I had a bunch of women just be there for me and stand there understanding that I just needed somebody to stand with me. And that's the feels I want of giving. I can't give people what they need. I can't give them what they want, but I can give them, at least in fiction, a world where that is how that works out. That when one of us is hurt, we're all there together to stand together and be like, we're here. We know we've been through this, we're with you.
Well, books are our escape. I mean, they are our escape, and
Yeah.
you don't want to escape into a world where everything just works the same as this one that we are escaping from. It's kind of the whole point of it.
Yeah. And I get the light, I've had people be like, I gotta take a break from your books. They're too heavy. I'm going through some stuff. I get that. I never judge anybody for that. I totally get that. That's why even and I get a lot of heavy with my books because I'm writing
Right.
them. That's why when I consume stuff, I tend to stick to more K-dramas where they're very lighthearted.
Right.
They're 16 episodes. I mean, I do a lot of watching stuff for research or whatever, but I 100% get that. Or taking I'm actually working on some trilogies where it's like, even my editor is reading the first one and she's like, this is easy, and not easy as in, but there's not
Right.
200 characters for her to keep straight in every book. It's like a
Yeah.
dozen or 20. And I'm like, yeah, I want just a cleanse for us as author and editor. Cause I don't know how far you've gotten in your series, but I'm on book 19, maybe 20. I think next one is 20 I'm going to work on for Artemis. Do you have any idea how complicated it is to write the 20th book in a series?
I made it to 5, and I was like, and it's not that you would think it'd be a lot of the big things, which there are bigger things, but I remember most of that. It's the stupidest thing. Like, did I give her a favorite ice cream in book 1?
Yes! Oh my god, yes! Like, looking up if her warlock mate said that he liked cheese or not. Like, I remember a scene of cheese, but I couldn't remember if he... Oh my god, and you don't write every single note of that down. I had to go look through 3 books and be like, where was the cheese?
I know. I have a girl who goes through and she creates like a Bible, like a series Bible, and so it's a spreadsheet with all the characters and their powers and any...
I have that, but you can't get it all. Otherwise, it's 80 million pages.
Well, it's the book. I mean, let's be real. It's essentially the book. And it's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. It's great for, like, my biggest flaw is I will forget, like, which eye color goes with which person sometimes. Like, that's if there's too many people, I will sometimes forget that on 1 or 2 people. Yeah. But other than that, what I need to know is this most random little fact that it doesn't even really matter, but I know I'll get called out on it if I get it wrong.
Yep.
Oh, I don't like this food. And it's like, okay, that shouldn't have mattered. But now it does matter because now she's eating a salad with that on it. And I don't know if I said she hated it.
Yeah. I'm honestly at the point where for the last like 4 or 5 books of Artemis, I'm honestly going to put a warning at the beginning. Like, look, I got Tamsin on lock, but there might be somebody that I said doesn't like donuts and does like donuts. And we're all going to ignore it because I'm going to lose my mind and not finish the series otherwise, because I'm spending so much time in the complicated and worrying if I ever said that Darby liked freaking dragon fruit that I spent 2 hours scouring to see if I ever said, oh my god.
And then you just have that feeling of frustration. That's the thing.
Like I know I said it somewhere. If I didn't say it here, where did I say it? And what? Or okay, so it was a different series. So I've never done a series this long before. It's very complicated.
I don't know if to be honest, I don't know if I could. Like
I don't know if I recommend it, or I recommend maybe writing it all and then just taking a year off and publishing it.
Yeah, I don't know. 5. I did 5, so I ended that series at 5, and I have a spinoff that's a trilogy, and then I have a second spinoff.
See, I've never ended a series before, so I'm also nervous about ending it.
Oh, that's nerve-wracking, I'll tell you up front. Like, it's nerve-wracking I finished, this is my 3rd series I finished, but the first 2 were trilogies. This one was 5, and it's nerve-wracking because for me, because I'm a pleaser, it's like, am I going to wrap everything up how they want it? And is it going to be, there's like all these thoughts because you need it to be perfect. And when you're so focused on perfectionism, you sometimes can't just let the story flow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm at the point where I've accepted the fact that half of the people are going to hate it because I hate every ending to every series, even if it is exactly what it should have been. I just don't want things to end.
Yeah, this is true.
So I've never read a book series or seen a TV series ending that I've liked. I'm that person. So I've dealt with the fact that people are going to hate it. However, it is this ending that is not a gotcha. It is very much, I've been working towards this ending. Right. It should be the expected ending. That is the one thing that I absolutely hate, where you get to like the last chapter and they like pull the rug out from underneath you of the whole series. Like,
I don't want to be left with more questions.
No.
See, I've watched too many TV series where they kind of leave you like that, or the series gets canceled and you get stuck on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Then I've watched a couple of TV series where they really should have ended it, but they kept it going, and then it just feels like it's dragging.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
this is terrible, terrible. My husband hates it because his brain requires finished, like very much like Sheldon, where it's like
Yeah.
it's a commitment before I start watching something. I'm not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I will binge something for a day and then never watch it again. And I will pick a nice ending for myself.
Yeah.
Like if I know that like I'm on the 6th season of something and there's 8 seasons, but I've seen a spoiler where they're like, oh, well, she's going to have a baby and that character never wanted one, or she's not going to end up with so and so. I'll just pick an ending and stop there. I'm like, the end. I didn't actually watch the whole series.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And my husband's like, you can't just stop there. He said, you're not, how can you be satisfied not knowing what happens? And I'm like, in my mind, this is where it ended. It was a wonderful ending.
Yes. No, I've done that too, but this honestly, this is going to be a soft walk into the sunset. Like I might have a lot of harsh in my books. I don't want it to be the last.
Right.
Like I want the after dinner mint or the nightcap kind of vibe. That's just how I feel. Like it's not going to be walk off of the sunset where everything's perfect from here on out, but if you read the series, there are enough huge, not just my normal little breadcrumbs that people are like, "Oh, you sneaky bitch." There are huge street signs of what's going to happen. Like it should not be a shocker to anyone.
I love
really
those.
shouldn't. And that's
I love those. And I love the little threads. Like that's one of my favorite things is like tucking those threads, because especially as a pantser, because you're still working, some things you're still learning about the characters as you're writing, but when you're leaving a little thread here, but you can't make it so obvious that like, heaven forbid you forget about it.
yeah.
Or it doesn't work with something that changes in the future.
Yeah.
But I've laid some threads down, and then when I get to pull them, as the finish is coming, which it will make complete sense. It's not a pull the rug out. It's just like
Yeah.
that just makes it all feel right, and it's like,
Yeah.
My alpha will be like, how did so you're telling me for like a year you've had this plan, and they're like, and they know I'm riding by the seat of my pants half the time, but I'm like, yeah, that part I knew. That part I knew and was planning.
I'm a plotter though, so like I always have the evil plan. I've known how this series ends from the day I started it. I didn't know it was gonna. Well, I was planning on one book a quarter, so I was planning on like 24 books originally. Yeah, so yeah, I knew the ending before I started. That is not normally the norm, but yeah, I kind of know how it all comes together, and I leave the breadcrumbs. And it's so funny because I've had people be like, "You forgot about this." It's like, no, I didn't. Like just.
Oh, I love that. I've had a couple where they
hold my beer. Like, hang on, just hang on.
Yes.
It's not over. I didn't forget shit.
Yes, I have a character. I'm not going to say which series, but I have a character that was definitely a side character. It was a rescued side character that I actually gave a name to. Like she had an appearance in a scene, and more so than the other ones who got rescued, right?
Mhm.
And then she was taken to safety. And I have had several people question, like, it did stand out a little bit. Not a ton, but it's like a little
Mhm.
bit like you don't normally name your side characters. And this one got a name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're going to be real surprised when there's another series that'll launch in about 2 years, and it's going to make all kinds of sense, and it doesn't affect the story that it's in at all at this point. It's just somebody she
Yeah.
rescued that was very sweet and gave a name. That's all it is, but it's going to be really cool later. My editor's like, you sure you want to name this one? Like, and like they're a little bit like, that was a little interesting, but they let it go.
Yeah.
That's fun.
No, I totally get that. And the interweaving in the railroad tracks laying down.
But sometimes, now you're a plotter, you don't have this. Sometimes I get thrown.
Oh no, I still get that.
And my husband does not understand. I will try to explain it, and he just thinks that I'm crazy. But I'm like, no, because
he's not wrong,
this is
but
true. This is true. And we know that science has proven that our brains are computers that work puzzles all the time. So while we're doing our other tasks in the background, it is processing information that we are not even thinking about. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's working out the plot line and the story and everything. That's how when I sit down to write, then I can write because it's already worked out a lot of these details, even if it's not on paper. But I had one scene, and I was messaging my outfit. I'm like, oh, wait till this scene it's a total like shocker. You're gonna be so shocked because I knew what was coming, right?
Mhm.
And I wrote to that last chapter because it was part of a series, and it was the cliffhanger ending, right? And I knew, and I was excited. I was like fingers flying, and he turns the phone to show her this ultimate betrayal thing, right? except it wasn't
Mhm.
the person that I thought it was going to be the entire book. Like the entire book,
Oh
I
my.
knew it was this person in the storyline from her past,
Mhm.
but it ended up being the person I didn't expect from her past.
Yeah.
And so he turns the phone, and my character just like her heart stops and she gasps, and I'm literally gasping in real life, like, no.
Yeah, no, plotters get that too because it's like once you work out, like I can have an outline, but once I work out the logistics, it clicks differently when I get to that part. That happens to me, not all the time, but that happens to me too. Absolutely.
Oh, it made absolute sense. Like the scene continued to
Yeah.
flow, like my brain had worked it all out, and it was exactly what the story needed. But when I sent it to my alpha, she's like, I did not see that coming. And I was like, me either.
Yeah. Me either on several levels.
Yeah, you have no idea. My husband's like, you had to have known. And I'm
Nope.
like, well, subconsciously, I guess, but
Apparently, but yeah. Nope.
I was like, this was a shocker. How dare you leave me on a cliffhanger like this?
Yeah, I'm a railroad tracks kind of layer plotter. I'm not like a in concrete outline.
Is it a plotster? Is that what they call it? Where it's
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a real plotter. But it's like some people have this conception that like once you outline, like that's it, it's set in stone. And it's just not. Like we change things not all the time, but we change things a lot. It's just it's setting up the foundation of the house as opposed to,
yeah, I'd love that.
however pantsers do it. It's just a different style of.
I would love that. And I did do it on one book. I did a heavy plot, and I had the hardest time writing it. And I, for the life of me, couldn't understand why, because I had a heavy outline. Like I was like, this is what's going to happen. And when I finally wrote the book, it was exactly, well, I mean, with a few twists, it was pretty much the book I thought it would be.
Mhm.
And then I was reading in a post in one of a cozy mystery author group. And this very, very successful cozy mystery author commented because they were all saying you have to have a heavy plot in a mystery, otherwise, it won't come together.
Nope.
And she said, no,
Nope.
that she can't actually plot because she gets bored. If she knows what's going to happen in that much detail, she's too bored to write the story. And so her brain just drags its feet and procrastinates it because it's like, we've already watched that movie or we've already read that book.
I mean, that could be for her, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that I could write one of my bigger mysteries without any. I don't think I could do it pants in, but heavy plotting doesn't necessarily. There's a lot of research involved, and you can do it as you go, so it can change certain aspects. And I definitely have to be more flexible on my murder mysteries sometimes than I would like to, but that's just the way things are, and the chips fall.
Yeah, and she said that she goes back.
You have to be more calculating on your murder mysteries, especially if you're doing it in known locations. Like I put a lot more background detail into my Sarah books of like looking up the weather that week in Chicago in 2017. Well, because if you have a murder that happened in, the body dump in a parking garage, because that's the book that's coming out in the winter, and yeah, I think I've already spoiled that one anyway, and it's in the whatever in the winter, and then if you don't check the weather of what it is in 2017 in that month, and they had a bunch of heavy storms, you just fucked with your whole everything. And yes, it's fiction. It's not actually what happened in Chicago because there weren't werewolves there. But if that's your parameters, you have to check the weather.
Oh yeah, for sure. When I read, I'm a speed reader, so I skim a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So your detail would probably not distract me at all. But I know there are readers who would be very distracted.
Oh, they're fixated on so much. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why I love history. Like I am such a history buff. I adore history so much, but I will not write historical
Oh God, no.
fiction.
No.
Because the very idea of how careful you have to be on even the
Language.
fabric that would have been available, the language, the fabric, I can't.
No.
Like that would bog down my creative process. A lot of people are like, oh, well, why do you write paranormal? I write paranormal because I can bend the rules. That's fun to do that. To be tied down so tight, I don't think I could handle that.
I write paranormal because the real world sucks.
This is true.
And I want a world with hot vampires and hot werewolves and just but I want more mystical and magical in
I agree.
life. And I've been somebody who's always believed in aliens, not necessarily that I believe in aliens, but if you are telling me that you think aliens are stupid when we're one planet in one solar system that has barely been, and so many out there that we've barely can see, much less haven't explored. Well, aren't you just full of yourself thinking you know a lot about too much? So that's kind of where I've always been.
Oh, I agree.
The outro goes here.
I want to give a big thanks to Sedona Ashe for joining me for such a fun conversation. Also, to all of our fans for checking this podcast out. I hope you liked what you heard and decide to stick around. Please make sure to subscribe to the Fat Books Podcast on YouTube or Spotify or that little purple icon on your Apple device. Follow us on Twitter or Facebook to stay up to date on who we're recording with and when the episodes are coming out. There's also a Patreon if you want to support the podcast and keep it going. Now let's hear a bit about what she's working on and what's next for her fans.
I'm working right now. My next book out will be Dinosaurs, Dilemmas, and Albert Einstein. And that's the second book in my Dino Shifter series. And then my Vampire series has its book 2 releasing in June. I'm also working on co-writes. We just released the Alien DTGP, which is Down to Get Probed, under the name Gemini with MJ Marston.
Sorry, say that again?
The title of the book is DTGP, and it stands for Down to Get Probed.
Okay, then.
And yeah, we figured that would like not mess up the censors or whatever. So we'll be releasing book 2 in that before too long. And it's DTGW, which is Down to Get Wet, because these aliens live on a wet world.
Oh, girl.
So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I love
Just
it.
keeping it light and silly. No, so yep, lots of fun stuff coming up this year. And if any of the readers are listening, I will actually be in Salem at a book signing there in September. So I'd love if you guys came out and said hi.
Oh, you're going to be right by me.
That's right.
Thanks for staying until the end and hope you enjoyed it.